UBC, inspiring Uganda.
My name is Peace Regis Mutuzo. I'm a woman member of parliament representing the people of Nyangabo, Rwenzori region, and I am a Minister of State for Gender and currently the Minister of Gender, Labour and Social Development, and by God's grace, I've been here for 7 years, and in the ministry, I'm now the longest serving minister in this gender docket, where I have continuously served for the last 7 years. So I'm privileged to inform you or give you the story or the gender journey to emancipation along the gender roles. Where a man constructs a house, a woman is supposed to make it a home. A woman produces children and takes care. And therefore the gender roles, even when emancipation started, towards serving the same gender roles. That the woman will now work in education because she has been nurturing children. That she will work in health. The journey has been long. Even internationally, the first time women voted in America was 1952. And even then, it is the elite, the educated, that voted. Universal adult suffrage came about in the 1960s. In Uganda, by 1982, we had only 2 women in parliament. That 30% of women where 30% of women were involved into the constitutional making framework. The Constituent Assembly had at least 30% of them women, and they were nominated and others elected by the President of the Republic of Uganda, who was a president and a speaker of that assembly, directed or desired that women get involved. So the journey has been long. To begin with, this Ministry of Gender started with President's office, within the President's office, the Women and Empowerment Program. And thereafter, it moved to Women in Development in the ministry. When it started, it was a Ministry of Culture and Women in Development. Later on, it expanded to Gender, Labour and Social Development. Now we can proudly talk about the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development as almost an empire, because it holds every human being, the workers, the women, persons with disabilities, the elderly, talk about everybody. So you will find yourself fitting into the Ministry of Gender, whether you are a president, you are a government official, either you are a woman, therefore the Ministry of Gender takes you up. If you are a worker, therefore the Ministry of Gender also has an impact about you. And so the journey has been this long. We now have about 52% of the total population women, and it is justifiable that they cannot be left behind. That's why the good vision of the President mandated the ministry specifically to pull out the persons who have been vulnerable by history, by culture, and some religious aspects, continue subjugating women to suppression. And therefore pulling this whole group of persons out was very, very important towards socioeconomic development and transformation. And also for them to have their voices heard, because they have different experiences and may have a way in which they contribute to societal development. Now you can see where we have a vice president woman, where we have a speaker woman, where we have a prime minister woman, and the world is moving actually faster, it is growing. That means that it was very, very important to pull out women and give them a platform and opportunity and space for them to express themselves and bring a paradigm shift to the development agenda of the country. So the aim and mission of this ministry is to give opportunities to harness potential of the vulnerable persons for them to actualize their potential and bring on the table new ways, new mechanisms of socio-economic transformation and development. We have a number of activities that lead us towards that. And among them is the empowerment of women economically. Where space was limited for women not to earn, and their husbands will almost be the breadwinner, now we can see women earning money. If you look at all the markets in this country, 80% of the people involved in the markets are women. 76% of the women are involved in agriculture. And you know, agriculture is the driver of our economy. And therefore, women now are on the steering wheel of driving the economy. So as government, we have also added them some steam. First of all, the legal framework that allows them to move and work. Secondly, education for all. Where it was unheard of for women to go and excel in academics and education, free education was instituted in this country to enable women to be able to access education and all the facilities. And they didn't stop at that. We have an affirmative action of 1.5% that is only accredited to girls to support them access university education and other tertiary and high institutions of learning. Now, the parish development model that was developed just recently, in addition to the Women Entrepreneurship Program, which was specifically for women, in addition to Youth Livelihood Program, where we know that 52% of the youth are still girls, was tailored towards supporting and economically empowering women and girls to enable them make a contribution, a tangible, recognized contribution towards the development of this country. We also get the Myoga program, where the women in the markets, where the women who are in produce, where the women who are in agriculture are also part of those that get access. The biggest challenge that we have had is that even when we plan for women, we are planning microeconomy, micro this, absent of tono, those small things. And we think that is not fair. For now, we have secured a grant, a global grant. It is only going to benefit 27 countries. But Uganda is privileged to be one of them. Why? Because within Africa, we have exhibited capacity to closing the gaps to gender equality. And we think that if we now added some money for women to grow their businesses, to graduate from the micro business thinking and operations to macro, in addition to training them, would achieve gender equality. You must have heard recently that in Parliament, a motion was tabled to also equate the representation of women in Parliament and also in other political spaces. Honorable Sarah Pendi and others have moved the motion. They are already researching and consulting, and we should support it. And I want to encourage men to remove or deconstruct that negative masculinity of women not being allowed into leadership space. Actually, they are burdening themselves, holding too much than you can handle. You'd rather allow somebody also to bring brains, because the most important thing is that it is at a debate level. Both of you debate and get the best options. If it is from a woman, it doesn't matter. What is critical and important is that at the end of the day, its implementation benefits all. The other challenge we have is in science and technology, where women perceived or felt that they could not do sciences, but also the society, especially marriages, frustrate them to doing sciences. For example, women who are in a medical practice, if she's still in the fertility age, where she's still productive and reproductive, but also has to spend the night in the hospital, it is quite a challenge. But lately, we demystified it. When COVID came, I remember seeing a number of women sleeping in their stores in the markets. And they were able to earn some bread and butter for their children. That perception and patriarchal system the patriarchal system which is deeply entrenched within our culture. And some people do not even access the kind of education we are talking about. Far or hard to reach, and the economy which had been disturbed a bit after COVID, that some girls were being forced into marriages, and a number of girls during COVID were impregnated, and nothing happened to their counterparts. The men, even when the law is available, that they should have been reprimanded, I did not see any of them being paraded, at least in the same numbers as the girls who were pregnant. But not all is lost. They are giving lives. Pregnancy is not a disease. We encourage the parents to pick these girls up and take them back to school and have their babies as their last born children. But also tailor them towards focusing in innovation, technology, and also innovation in agriculture. What we have been able to achieve, particularly in this year, is the unveiling of ICT to women, where previously women thought or society felt that working or operating with these machines which you're holding before me is a preserve for men. But we have seen a number of journalists now who are female, and they have made a name, and they have made a fundamental difference because they give it passion, they give it their all. The gender stereotypes are being demystified. Women who are economically empowered, who have constructed their own houses, are no longer being called Nache Mbekede. They are being called empowered women. They are industrialists. We have seen industries. Where we are leading to now is to ensure that the government gives women 40% of the jobs procured in this country to women-led enterprises. 40%. If it is road construction, out of 100 roads, 40% of those roads should be, or contracts, should be given to women-led companies. And that is where we are, to growing businesses' vision, to growing women's vision and businesses towards achieving that capacity. That is part of our way forward. In Chiruhura, the government has put up an ICT facility, but has also put up a lineup of other factories where women are moving from churning butter to now making yogurt and producing it at a large scale. And we're also procuring contracts for them out of this country so that they're also involved into cross-border trade. We are ensuring that all institutions, girls constitute about half of the enrollment in science and technology field. No matter at what level small they may start, they need to start to go there anyway. And I want to encourage parents, for the children who have completed senior 4, when you look at your grades and you find them with some credits in sciences, please, you'd rather start girls with certificate courses and diploma courses than going for arts where they are going to struggle to find jobs. These are areas where people can employ themselves. You'd rather start her into a vocational skilling center. And much of the money right now that we have secured for the Women Council, we are putting emphasis on skilling. The president has also been very supportive to women and girls by putting a number of centers for skilling. And we have seen girls progress, and they have been able to make their own money. But even when they go to the market, they are now bringing skills. They are now able to start. They are able to add value. They are now able to negotiate for the price of the labor they put in. We are no longer going to be taking girls to the Middle East to work as slaves. Once we continue with this system, in the next 10 years, we shall be doing everything here, and we shall be doing more of exporting than importing. The International Women's Day gives us a platform to advocate for women's rights, to pull out where the challenges are. We take stock of where the challenges are, where opportunities are, and give a way forward for a gender equally balanced society in the future to go. We are also taking up an advocacy on men for men to get involved into the journey towards women emancipation. For as long as men understand and appreciate and give protection to women and take it upon themselves to empower the women who were disempowered by society before, this journey will be shorter than it had been before. And we think we are moving towards that direction. I want to thank government of the NRM specifically that has been able to emancipate women feasibly. And one, we shall begin with what is appearing as a controversial externalization of labor, where many girls have been able to go out and work for a living and come back. Some people may think it is negative. But now we can afford to talk about it because you can see the competition coming in. So in terms of ICT, which was a dominated space for men, we see women now in flashy colors all over in the press. And they are now running big programs. Others have even freelanced. You can see others on social media. Kajingo is one of the women I know who has dominated space in the social media. And she's performing perfectly well. When we talk about the economy, the women are the drivers. They were only being left in the behind seat, but they are really the drivers of the economy. We only see men going to sell, but we know who has produced the food. At harvest time, men are active. At planting, growing, and weeding, women are the ones who are taking the driving seat. But now we want to encourage, can we share the outcomes of that product so that we can all benefit? Now, instead of somebody holding the money alone, when the wife is the one who has made the money, bring it at home so that it improves the livelihood of the family so that everybody is happy. Because you might make other families which are not going to be part of you, or maybe the money might benefit other people's children in the bars and all that. When we look at the water coverage, and by the way, before women went into politics, even connecting water into the rural villages was not there. But the voices of women in politics, in the political space, has been heard, that we now find piped water deep into the villages. Even the diseases have reduced because we used to take contaminated water. Now the uptake of the good environment in health, women have made a fundamental difference. 64% of the medical practitioners are women. So is education. 69% of the teachers are women. So everybody that has been able to learn and has excelled in education has been because a woman has put a fingerprint on his career. When we talk about political representation, I had already stated that in 1982 there were only two women members on parliament. Right now we probably talk about 179 women in parliament, not just sitting to warm the chairs. But they have passed a number of policies. All these gender bills, even the marriage bill that had been termed as mad bill because we're talking about marriage and divorce, I have been witnessing it getting back to the layman and discussion. The succession, previously, out of the cultural setting, no one would think about a woman succeeding or becoming a heir of his father. But Professor Nsibambi, a whole professor, a pure Muganda, who was able to offer the opportunity to his daughter as the heir to his estate, and I have not seen any disturbance. That means this man had seen visionally that my daughter can take this responsibility. We have been able to tap into the energy sector. And the energy sector has liberated women so much because the workload in the household was one of the hindrances that were not allowing women to move out. But now you can even intubate a child if it is very young. So we do not see many children dying early, or those who have brought out prematures. We used to lose them. Any woman that would produce a child before her term of gestation would lose the child. But right now, women have produced 6 babies once. I had a woman in Busoga who made 6 of them once herself, because of the facilities where we now have incubation centers, where we have the energy reaching as far as Iganga, deep in the villages. So the services that energy has brought are really immense in all the fields, including health, including education, that people are no longer lighting Tadoba. They are able to access power in the deep village schools, and the solar are almost everywhere. Recently, we were even given gas cookers, which is government-aided program, even within the urban centers, so that we get off from charcoal and we just use a finger instead of lighting a sigiri or even the firewood. So that reduction of the workload of a woman has emancipated a woman to save time to go and make money, to go into the business sector. Women were involved into fresh foods. All over the main roads, you see women into the fresh markets, fresh food, beverages and all that. But with the power extension now, at least their fresh foods are no longer as perishing as fast as they used to do. Because you can store your food into the refrigerators and it survives for a longer time. Even value addition, the women are now involved into value addition. You find them making yogurt, you find them with their stores busy, even in the middle of the night with the lighting system. Sometimes they even leave their foodstuffs on the roadside and no one touches it because there is power and there is a security guard up to the following day in the morning. Than having to carry the luggage back home and bring it back in the morning. Now all that load of work has gone down. So transformation is real. It is physical, it is visible, it is tangible. And I am certain that men are comfortable. While they were struggling alone to put food on the plate, there is now a hand of a woman, which is a very critical hand, because it observes many small things, pays attention to details. But also even the young people are being nurtured and trained by the women who have gotten the exposure and access to both making money and working at home. So we think the government, the NRM government, has been so transformative, especially the women in Uganda. I have visited many other countries. Those we perceive to be very developed. I can assure you that in UK, there are only 16 women in parliament, even up to this date, with all the developments they have. But Africa has made a fundamental strive. Rwanda has now 62% of the women in parliament, and there has not been any problem with that. Switzerland is the second one. But Uganda is also moving towards making big strides, especially now with the political mileage that the president has given us, and the opportunity to serve at high level of decision making gives women an opportunity to not only hear their voices, but also for them to exercise their abilities and potential, to ensure that no one doubts them in the future to come. I don't think if there was a vote to be cast without the first attempt of a president giving an opportunity to women, first of all with Her Excellency Wandera Speciosa Kazibwe, and later on the current president Jessica Alupo, a major in the army, who have all exhibited their capacities well, and the Prime Minister Honorable Robin Anabanja, the speaker. For now, we have had the speaker for the third term. We had Rebecca Adituara Kadaga for 2 terms. Those are 10 years. And now we have Anita Annette, who is running another term. And that is showing the confidence, the capacity, the ability that women are not limited because they are women in any way. They are actually as privileged, they are actually as empowered, they are actually as blessed and enlightened as men. And women are not discussing gender issues only. They are not discussing microeconomics, small things. They are discussing everything at the national spectrum and are able to move the country forward. As I conclude, I want to thank our partners, our development partners. UBC has been very instrumental in airing our issues on air, and that is how we easily reach or tap the community to get to know what we are doing. We have had UN Women for a very long time. United Nations Women has been supportive in ensuring that we domesticate the international obligations and laws and policies. We have had a goodwill from our male counterparts. We cannot take it for granted, because if they were in arms to fight, this journey would have not been as victorious as it is. So the male counterparts, wherever you are located, we want to appreciate you and appeal that you come and join us in celebrating the Women's Day, and ensure that we now deconstruct that perception of women who are going to work, that they are going to be disrespectful, that they are not going to be submissive. What do you want with submission? Submissiveness is disempowering. Why would you disempower somebody than tapping into those powers to add value to your family? So the earlier we developed or dropped the negative masculinity, the better for us. So holding too much powers when it is not bringing food on the responsibility, collective responsibility, and take it in good faith. If you have made a mistake today, don't hold it and take it to anger for tomorrow. Drop it down today and take a better strive tomorrow, so that we have a better and happier life the following day for all of us and our children. For God and my country.
UBC, inspiring Uganda.